I'm so excited to share with you this new series of short, powerful videos with personal growth lessons coming from the Seder that we do on Pesach and the Haggadah. This is the first one, and I want to begin, of course, just reminding ourselves the context of the Seder and the Pesach experience. That it's not just to remember the historic story of the Jews being freed from Egypt, but rather it's a re-experience and reenactment in a spiritual way of that story by experiencing and tapping into personal freedom, freeing ourselves from ourselves, freeing ourselves from our own personal prison, and taking the next step beyond our comfort zone towards personal freedom, spiritual freedom, and growth. So this is done, and this is experienced during the Seder. So for the first insight, number one, let's remind ourselves that at the beginning of the Seder, we do something really strange. After we've drunk the first cup of wine, we take a vegetable called karpas, whether it's parsley or potato, onion, whatever it is, depending on the custom of the family, and we dip it into salt water. Salt being the symbol of tears. And that's the first dipping of the Seder. But we do it twice on Seder night. Later on, we dip the maror, the bitter herbs or the lettuce that we eat, into charoset, which is a concoction of nuts and apples and pears and a little bit of wine and so on, sort of a thick paste. What's the significance of these two dippings? So the commentaries explain an amazing idea. It goes back historically to the reason that the Jews landed up in Egypt in the first place and the cause and the power for them to become free. There were also two ancient dippings. The first was the story of Joseph and his brothers. His brothers sell him into slavery. And then they need to give some story to their father Jacob, so they take his cloak, his special cloak, and they slaughter a goat which has similar blood to the human and dip the cloak in it and bring that cloak to Jacob and says, it looks like your son Yosef was devoured or torn up by a wild animal. That's the dipping of disunity. It's the dipping of division between brothers, and it's division and hatred between people that brings self-absorption, spiritual exile, and personal incarceration. Before the Jews left Egypt, God gave them another dipping. And the night before they left Egypt, they were supposed to slaughter a lamb and have the Paschal lamb, the Paschal offering, where they pasted the blood on the doorposts, and God recognized the Jewish homes and passed over them and brought the plague of the firstborns upon the Egyptian. But when God tells them to smear the blood, he tells them, "Velakachtem agudat ezov." Take a bunch of hyssop branches. Hyssop is some plant, but it has to be a cluster, a bunch of them, and paint your doors, and that'll be the sign that you will become free. What's the significance of the cluster of hyssop branches? The cluster of branches is a symbol of unity. It's a bunch of plants coming together, tied together, and it's a symbol of unity, the opposite of division. Freedom comes from unity. The power of unity, the power of achdut, the power of being together, the power of supporting each other, helping each other through the journey of growth and personal freedom. In our Seder, we do two dippings to remind ourselves, to understand how the Seder should work. Before we start the personal experience of freedom at the Seder, we remind ourselves, exile, prison, galut, slavery, comes from division. We remind ourselves by taking the onion or the potato and dipping it in salt water, the symbol of tears, remembering the very first dipping that the brothers did in the blood with the cloak of Joseph, bringing about endless tears through landing up in Egypt and being oppressed and enslaved for so many years. And then as we go through the Seder, and we're ready to eat the matzah, and we're eating the matzah to experience our personal freedom, we remind ourselves the cause for freedom, the power of personal freedom, is connection. We dip a bunch of lettuce leaves in charoset, remembering the times that the Jews dipped the hyssop branches into the blood to paste their doorposts, reminding ourselves that it's unity that helps support and gives the power to become personally free and experience spiritual growth and really experience the Pesach Seder properly. Have a wonderful day.